Lyrelay stepped off the transport ship and looked around Terra Nova University. The buildings were made of glass and metal. Nothing like the beautiful tree homes on her planet. Everything here looked cold and hard. She pulled her silver hair back and checked her student papers one more time. This was her first time away from the elf world of Sylvandor. Her teachers had chosen her for this special program because she was the best student in her class. But now, standing on this human world, she felt very small. The other students walking around looked so different. There were tall blue aliens with 4 arms. Some had scales instead of skin. A few had tentacles for hair. And then there were the humans. They looked the most normal, but Lyrelay knew better than to trust that. Her grandmother had told her stories about humans. They were dangerous creatures who fought wars all the time. They destroyed their own planet before moving to the stars. They were too young to be in space, but somehow they had spread everywhere. Most elves thought humans were just lucky. Lyrelay believed this too. She found her dorm room and unpacked her things. Her roommate was a nice alien from the water world of Aquanus. The fish-like creature warned her about humans right away. "Be careful around them," her roommate said through her water mask. "They act friendly, but they are killers inside. My people learned this the hard way when we first met them." Lyrelay nodded. Every species she had met so far had similar warnings about humans. They all said the same thing. Humans were unpredictable and violent. The next morning, she went to her first class. Advanced xenobiology was held in a big lab with metal tables and bright lights. The professor was a wise old alien with purple skin and 3 eyes. Students from 12 different worlds sat in the room. "Today you will meet your lab partners," the professor announced. "You will work together for the whole term." Lyrelay hoped she would get paired with another elf, or maybe one of the smart crystal beings from the Outer Rim. Instead, her name was called with someone named Maya Collins. A human girl stood up from the back of the room. She was shorter than Lyrelay expected, with brown hair and dark eyes. She wore simple clothes and carried a basic notebook. Nothing about her looked special or dangerous. "Hi," Maya said when she reached Lyrelay's table. "I guess we're partners." Her voice was quiet and calm. She sat down and opened her notebook. Lyrelay noticed that Maya's hands were very steady. Most students were nervous on the first day, but Maya seemed completely relaxed. The professor started explaining their first project. They would study dangerous alien creatures that the university kept in special cages. These were some of the most deadly beings in the galaxy. Most of them were captured from worlds where they had killed many people. "Remember," the professor said, "these creatures are here for science, but they are still very dangerous. Always follow safety rules. Never go near the cages alone." He showed them pictures of the creatures they would study. There was a metal-eating worm from the desert worlds, a plant that could read minds and drive people crazy, and worst of all, something called a vorthak. The vorthak looked like a nightmare. It was 8 feet tall with long arms and sharp claws. Its skin was black like shadow, and it had red eyes that glowed in the dark. The professor explained that it came from a place called the Shadow Realm. "This creature hunts intelligent beings," he said. "It can walk through walls and smell fear from miles away. It has killed thousands of people across 17 different star systems. We are very lucky to have one for study." Every student in the room looked scared when they saw the picture. Some of the tougher aliens actually moved back in their chairs. Even Lyrelay felt a chill run down her spine. Her people had ancient memories of things like this, shadow creatures that hunted elves in the old days. But when she looked at Maya, the human girl was just taking notes. Her hand moved steadily across the paper. Her face showed no fear at all. She looked at the picture of the vorthak the same way she might look at a bug or a flower. This confused Lyrelay. How could anyone see something so terrifying and not react? Maybe humans really were too stupid to understand danger, or maybe they were so violent that they didn't fear other violent things. After class, Lyrelay tried to talk to Maya about their project, but the human girl just said they should meet in the lab tomorrow and walked away. She didn't seem interested in making friends. That night, Lyrelay called her grandmother back on Sylvandor using the space communication system. "How are the humans treating you?" her grandmother asked. "Strange," Lyrelay replied. My partner doesn't seem afraid of anything. She looked at pictures of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy like they were nothing. Her grandmother's face became serious on the screen. Be very careful, child. Humans who show no fear are the most dangerous ones. They might be planning something. Lyra Lee promised to be careful and ended the call. But she couldn't stop thinking about Maya's calm face when she saw the Vorthak. Something about it bothered her, but she couldn't figure out what. The next few days were the same. Maya came to class, took notes, and said very little. She was polite but distant. She never seemed excited or scared or angry. She was always just calm. During their lab work, Maya was very good at handling the equipment. Her hands never shook when they worked near the dangerous creatures. She asked smart questions and wrote detailed reports, but she never showed any emotion about what they were doing. Other students noticed this too. Some of the aliens started whispering about the strange human girl who never seemed afraid. A few even asked Lorelei if she felt safe working with Maya. Lorelei didn't know how to answer. Maya had never done anything wrong. She was actually a very good lab partner. But there was something about her that felt different. Something that made Lorelei's ancient elf instincts whisper warnings she didn't understand. As the weeks passed, they got closer to studying the most dangerous creatures. Soon they would be working near the Vorthak itself. Lorelei found herself watching Maya more and more, trying to figure out what made her so different from everyone else. She just didn't know that very soon. She would find out exactly what humans were really capable of. 3 weeks into the term, their class finally got to work with the most dangerous creatures. The lab had been changed for safety. New walls were put up. Extra guards stood by the doors. Even the air in the room was filtered to remove any dangerous smells or chemicals. Lorelei felt nervous as she walked into the lab that morning. Today they would observe the Vorthak up close. The creature was kept in a special cage made of energy, fields, and metal walls. Even with all the safety measures, she could feel her heart beating fast. Maya walked beside her, carrying her notebook and equipment like any other day. She looked as calm as always. When they reached their station near the Vorthak's cage, Maya set up her tools without even glancing at the creature inside. Lorelei couldn't help but stare at the thing. The Vorthak was even more terrifying in person. Its black skin seemed to absorb light. Its red eyes moved constantly, watching every student in the room. When it looked at her, she felt a cold fear deep in her bones. This was what her ancestors had nightmares about. Fascinating, Maya said quietly, finally looking at the creature. Look how it tracks movement. See how its claws are designed for gripping prey that tries to run. Lorelei stared at her partner. Maya was studying the Vorthak like it was an interesting puzzle, not a monster that could kill them all. Her voice was steady and scientific. She even leaned closer to the cage to get a better look. The professor began his lecture about shadow, realm predators. He explained how they hunted by sensing fear and tracking rapid heartbeats. He warned the students to stay calm and move slowly near the cage. Maya took notes on everything. She asked questions about the creature's hunting methods and diet. She wanted to know how fast it could move and how smart it was. Her questions were the kind a scientist would ask, but they also sounded like things a hunter might want to know. About an hour into the class, something went wrong. The lights in the lab started flashing red. A loud alarm began making noise. The professor looked at his control panel and his face went white. Containment breach in Section 7, he announced. All students moved to the exit doors immediately. But before anyone could move, there was a sound like breaking glass. The energy field around the Vorthak's cage flickered and died. The metal walls that held the creature began to slide open. Panic hit the room instantly. Students screamed and ran toward the doors. The four-armed aliens pushed past smaller students. The fish people from Aquinas made high-pitched sounds of terror. Even some of the professors were running. Lorelei felt her legs freeze up. This was happening too fast. Her mind could not process that the most dangerous predator in the galaxy was about to be free in the same room as her. Every instinct her people had developed over thousands of years told her to run, but her body would not move. The Vorthak stepped out of its cage slowly. It stood up to its full height of 8 feet. Its red eyes scanned the room, looking at all, the running, screaming students. A sound came from its throat that was like a growl mixed with laughter. It was enjoying the fear. Then it began to hunt. The creature moved faster than anything that size should be able to move. It seemed to flow across the floor like liquid shadow. It reached the first group of running students in seconds. Lyrelei heard screams, but she could not look away from the creature. "Lyrelei," Maya said in the same calm voice she always used. "We need to move to the emergency station." Lyrelei turned to look at her partner. Maya was not running or screaming. She was not frozen with fear like Lyrelei. She was standing up and gathering equipment from their table. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was normal. "Are you crazy?" Lyrelei whispered. "We have to get out of here." "The exits are blocked," Maya replied, pointing to where the Vorthak was hunting near the doors. "And running will make us targets. Shadow predators chase things that run fast." Maya was right. The creature was attacking students who were running and screaming the most. It seemed to ignore a few people who had frozen in place or were moving very slowly. "How do you know that?" Lyrelei asked. Maya looked at her with those dark, calm eyes. "I read about them. Predators usually hunt the same way. Fear makes prey animals run without thinking. That makes them easy to catch." She said this like she was talking about the weather, like there was not a killing machine 15 feet away from them tearing apart their classmates. Maya began moving toward the back of the lab. She did not run. She walked slowly and steadily, like she was going to get coffee. She carried some equipment in her hands, but Lyrelei could not see what it was. "Follow me," Maya said. "Step where I step. Move like I move. Do not run no matter what you see." Lyrelei wanted to argue, but Maya was already walking away. The elf had no choice but to follow her. Every step felt like it might be her last. The sounds of the hunt were getting louder behind them. Maya led them between the lab tables toward the emergency equipment station. The Vorthak was busy with other prey, but Lyrelei could feel it might notice them at any moment. Her heart was beating so loud she was sure the creature would hear it. Halfway across the room, the Vorthak finished with its current victim. It raised its head and sniffed the air. Lyrelei saw its red eyes start to scan the room again, looking for new prey. Maya stopped walking. She turned slightly and looked directly at the creature. For a moment, the two of them stared at each other, across the lab. The Vorthak tilted its head like it was confused. It had expected the small human to run or scream. Instead, she was just standing there, watching it. In that moment, Lyrelei realized something that made her feel sick. Maya was not afraid because she did not see the Vorthak as something to fear. She was studying it. She was thinking about it the same way the creature was thinking about her, like one predator watching another. The staring contest lasted only a few seconds, but it felt like hours. Then Maya turned away and continued walking toward the emergency station. The Vorthak, still confused by her behavior, looked for easier prey. When they reached the emergency station, Maya began setting up equipment that Lyrelei had never seen before. Her movements were quick and precise. She knew exactly what she was doing. "What is that?" Lyrelei asked. "Containment field generator," Maya replied. "Portable version. If we can get close enough, we can trap it again." "Get close enough?" Lyrelei could not believe what she was hearing. "You want to go near that thing on purpose?" Maya looked at her with those calm, dark eyes again. "It's just a predator, Lyrelei. All predators have weaknesses. We just have to find this one's weakness and use it." The way she said "just a predator" made Lyrelei's blood run cold. Maya talked about the most feared creature in the galaxy like it was a common animal, like it was something she had dealt with before. For the first time since meeting her human partner, Lyrelei began to wonder if the other aliens were right to be afraid of humans. Maybe they were not just violent. Maybe they were something much worse. Maybe they were the thing that even monsters should be afraid of. The Vorthak had found its rhythm now. It moved through the lab like a nightmare made real, picking off students one by one. Lyrelei watched in horror as it seemed to choose its victims carefully. It always went after the ones who ran the fastest or screamed the loudest. A group of crystal beings tried to hide behind an overturned table. They were whispering prayers in their musical language. The Vorthak heard them and flowed toward their hiding spot like living shadow. Their screams cut off quickly. Maya continued working on her equipment, but Lyrelei noticed she was also watching the creature's hunting pattern. Her eyes tracked its movements with the focus of someone studying an important problem. It hunts. In spirals, Maya said quietly. Starting from the edges and working toward the center. That gives us maybe 10 minutes before it gets to this section. How can you think about patterns right now? Lyrelei whispered. People are dying. Maya looked at her with those steady, dark eyes. People die in panics. The ones who survive are the ones who think instead of just react. She said this like it was a simple fact, like she had seen this happen before. Lyrelei felt another chill run through her. How could a student know so much about how predators hunt and how people die? There, Maya said, pointing to a spot across the room. See that emergency panel? It controls the main containment system. If I can reach it and input the right codes, I can activate backup containment fields. Lyrelei looked where Maya was pointing. The panel was at least 30 feet away, past several overturned tables and equipment. Worse, it was close to where the Vorthak was currently hunting. That's suicide, Lyrelei said. You'll never make it. I will if I do it right, Maya replied. She was checking the portable containment device she had been building. Predators like this have simple behavior patterns. They're smart, but they follow instincts. Instincts can be predicted. Maya stood, up slowly. She had attached the portable device to her belt and she carried some kind of tool in her hand. Lyrelei could not tell what it was. Stay here, Maya said. If something happens to me, use the emergency communicator to call for help, but do not run. Walk slowly to the exit when the path is clear. Maya, wait, Lyrelei started to say, but the human was already moving. Maya walked across the lab like she was taking a casual stroll. She did not hurry or sneak. She just walked normally, as if there was not a killing machine 20 feet away from her. Her footsteps were quiet but steady. The Vorthak was busy hunting a group of students who had trapped themselves in a corner. Their fear was making them panic, and the creature was enjoying their terror. It did not notice Maya walking past. Lyrelei watched her partner move between the lab tables. Maya seemed to know exactly when to stop and when to move. She avoided the areas where the creature might notice her, but she never looked afraid. Halfway to the control panel, something went wrong. One of the trapped students saw Maya and called out for help. The sound made the Vorthak turn its head. Its red eyes locked onto the human walking calmly through its hunting ground. Maya stopped walking. She looked back at the creature. For a moment, they stared at each other again. Lyrelei held her breath, waiting for Maya to run or scream or show some normal reaction to being noticed by a monster. Instead, Maya did something that made no sense. She tilted her head slightly like she was curious about the Vorthak. Then she made a soft clicking sound with her tongue. The clicking sound was not random. It had a pattern to it. Short clicks, long clicks, pauses. Lyrelei realized with shock that Maya was trying to communicate with the creature. But how could she know its language? The Vorthak tilted its head too, listening to the sounds Maya made. It seemed confused by this behavior. In its experience, prey animals did not try to talk to it. They ran or fought or begged for mercy. They did not make clicking sounds like they were having a conversation. Maya made the clicking sounds again, but different this time. The Vorthak took a step toward her, but it moved slowly. It was no longer in hunting mode. It was trying to figure out what this strange little creature was doing. Maya began walking again, still making the clicking sounds. The Vorthak followed her, but it did not attack. It seemed curious now instead of hungry. Maya was leading it away from the trapped students and toward the center of the lab. Lyrelei could not believe what she was seeing. Somehow Maya was controlling the most dangerous predator in the galaxy. She was making it follow her like a pet dog. But that should be impossible. The Vorthak was supposed to be an unstoppable killing machine. Maya reached the control panel and began working on it with one hand. The other hand held the tool she had brought, which Lyrelei now saw was some kind of electronic device. Maya kept making the clicking sounds while she worked. The Vorthak stood just a few feet away from her, watching everything she did. It could have killed her easily, but it seemed more interested in the strange human who spoke its language. Maya finished with the control panel and turned to face the creature. She held up the electronic device and activated it. A high-pitched sound filled the lab so high that Lyrelei could barely hear it, but the Vorthak heard it clearly. The creature stepped back and made an angry growling sound. "Sonic disruptor," Maya called out to Lyrelei. "Messes with its nervous system, won't hurt it, but it will confuse it for a few minutes." She said this while standing 3 feet away from a creature that could tear her apart. Her voice was still, calm and scientific, like she was explaining a homework problem. Maya activated the containment fields from the control panel. Energy barriers sprang up around the Vorthak, trapping it in a small area. The creature tried to phase through the walls, but these fields were designed specifically to stop Shadow Realm beings. The hunt was over. The Vorthak was contained. Students who had survived began coming out of their hiding places. Rescue teams would arrive soon to help the wounded and clean up the mess. But Lyrelei could not stop staring at Maya. Her human partner had just done something that should have been impossible. She had communicated with an alien predator, controlled its behavior, and trapped it using knowledge that no student should have. "How?" Lyrelei asked when Maya walked back to her. "How did you know how to do all that?" Maya looked at her with those dark, calm eyes. For a moment, Lyrelei thought she might get a real answer. Then Maya shrugged and said, "I read a lot of books." But Lyrelei knew that was not the whole truth. Books could not teach someone how to speak to Shadow Realm predators. Books could not make someone stay calm while death walked around them. Books could not explain the look in Maya's eyes when she stared at the Vorthak. That look had not been fear or curiosity or even respect. It had been recognition. Like Maya was looking at something familiar, something she understood better than anyone else in the room. As rescue teams arrived and the lab was cleared out, Lyrelei kept thinking about that look. She thought about Maya's calm voice and steady hands. She thought about how Maya had walked through a hunting ground like she belonged there. And for the first time since meeting her human partner, Lyrelei began to wonder which one of them was really the predator. The rescue teams worked quickly to clear the lab, but Maya and Lyrelei were the last to leave. The emergency containment field holding the Vorthak was temporary, and Maya insisted on staying to monitor it until the permanent systems came back online. "We should go," Lyrelei said for the 3rd time. "The maintenance crews can handle this." Maya shook her head, checking readings on her portable device. "The field is fluctuating. If it fails before backup containment is ready, we'll have the same problem all over again." Most of the other students had been taken to medical or sent back to their dorms. The professors were in emergency meetings with university security. Only Lyrelei and Maya remained in the damaged lab with 2 security guards who stood near the exits. The Vorthak paced inside its energy prison, testing the walls. Its red eyes never stopped moving, watching everything around it. When it looked at Maya, it made soft clicking sounds similar to the ones she had used earlier. "It's trying to talk to you," Lyrelei said, feeling disturbed by the creature's behavior. "Predators communicate," Maya replied without looking up from her equipment. "They have to coordinate hunts, mark territory, warn off competitors. This one is probably trying to establish dominance or negotiate for freedom." "How do you know what it wants?" Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The clicking patterns are similar to hunting calls used by pack predators on several worlds. Basic concepts translate across species." Lyrelei studied her partner's face. Maya was giving scientific answers, but something in her voice suggested she knew more than she was saying. Much more. The containment field flickered again. Maya frowned and made adjustments to her device. "The field generators are overloading. We need to reroute power from the backup systems." She moved to another control panel across the room. Lyrelei followed, not wanting to be alone near the creature. But as they worked, the field continued to weaken. Then it failed completely. The EQ energy walls disappeared with a soft humming sound. The Vorthak stood perfectly still for a moment, testing its freedom. Then it stepped out of the containment area and looked around the empty lab. The security guards by the exits immediately started calling for backup, but they were too far away to help. Maya and Lyra Lee were trapped in the back section of the lab with nowhere to run. "Emergency doors are sealed," one guard shouted. "We can't get to you. Stay calm and don't move." The Vorthak heard the guards and turned toward their voices. But then it stopped and looked back at Maya. It tilted its head and made more clicking sounds. It seemed to be asking her something. Maya straightened up slowly. Instead of running or hiding, she took a step toward the creature. Lyra Lee grabbed her arm to stop her. "What are you doing?" Lyra Lee whispered. "It's not hunting right now," Maya said calmly. "It's curious about me. That gives us an opportunity." She gently pulled free from Lyra Lee's grip and walked toward the Vorthak. The creature watched her approach without moving to attack. When she was about 6 feet away, Maya stopped and began making clicking sounds again. This time, the conversation was longer and more complex. Maya's clicks had different rhythms and tones. The Vorthak responded with its own series of sounds. They seemed to be having an actual discussion. Lyra Lee watched in growing horror as her human partner talked with a nightmare. The creature's body, language had changed completely. It was no longer in hunting mode. It stood more upright and its claws were relaxed. It was treating Maya like an equal. The conversation went on for several minutes. Sometimes Maya would point to different parts of the lab, and the creature would look where she indicated. Sometimes the Vorthak would make a sound that might have been laughter, and Maya would nod like she understood the joke. Finally, Maya made a series of sharp clicking sounds that had a different tone. Challenge sounds, Lyra Lee realized. Maya was challenging the creature to something. The Vorthak's entire body tensed. Its claws extended and its red eyes began to glow brighter. It made a low, growling sound that filled the lab. This was the sound of an apex predator accepting a challenge. Maya did not step back. She did not show fear. Instead, she stared directly into the creature's glowing eyes and held the gaze without blinking. What happened next would stay with Lyra Lee for the rest of her life. The most feared predator in the galaxy, a creature that had killed thousands of beings across 17 star systems, had a staring contest with a human college student, and the human won. Maya never blinked. She never looked away. She stood perfectly still and met the creature's gaze with something that was not quite human. Her dark eyes reflected the Vorthak's red glow, and for a moment, Lyra Lee could not tell which one was the real monster. The Vorthak was the first to break eye contact. It looked away and made a sound that might have been respect or surrender. When it looked back at Maya, its body language had changed again. It was no longer challenging her. It was acknowledging her as the dominant predator. Maya reached into her equipment bag and pulled out the portable containment device she had been working on earlier. She held it up so the Vorthak could see it clearly. Then she activated it. The energy field sprang up around the creature again. But this time the Vorthak did not fight it. It settled down in the center of the containment area and closed its eyes. It looked almost peaceful. "How?" Lyra Lee whispered. "How did you do that?" Maya turned to look at her, and Lyra Lee saw something in her eyes that made her take a step backward. Maya's expression was completely calm, but there was something else there. Something cold and calculating and utterly without mercy. "I spoke its language," Maya said simply. "I showed it that I understood what it was, and I proved that I was better at it." "Better at what?" Maya smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of something that had just won a contest that Lyra Lee had not even known was happening. "Hunting," Maya said. "I'm better at hunting than it is." The way she said it made Lyra Lee's blood turn to ice. Maya was not talking about hunting animals for food. She was talking about something much darker, something that explained her calm behavior, her scientific interest in predators, her ability to communicate with killers. Maya was talking about hunting intelligent beings, and she was very, very good at it. The security teams finally arrived to secure the area and repair the containment systems. Maya answered their questions in her usual calm voice, explaining what had happened in simple scientific terms. she made it sound like she had just gotten lucky. But Lyra knew better now. Maya had not been lucky. She had been in complete control from the moment the creature escaped. Everything that happened had been part of some plan that only Maya understood. As they finally left the lab, Lyra looked back at the contained Vorthak. The creature was watching Maya walk away, and its red eyes held something that Lyra had never expected to see: respect, fear, and recognition of a superior predator. Lyra realized that everyone had been wrong about humans. They were not just violent or lucky or unpredictable. They were something much worse than anyone had imagined. They were the thing that even monsters learned to fear. The days following the incident passed like a strange dream for Lyra. The university was in chaos. Students were being sent home early. Parents from dozens of worlds demanded answers about how such a dangerous creature had escaped. Maya continued attending classes as if nothing had happened. She took notes, completed assignments, and spoke politely to other students. But Lyra could not look at her the same way anymore. Every calm smile, every steady hand movement, every quiet response reminded her of what she had witnessed in the lab. 3 days after the incident, Lyra found herself alone in the library, researching human history. She had never bothered to learn much about Earth or its people before. Like most elves, she had dismissed humans as a young, violent species that had gotten lucky in their expansion across the galaxy. Now she read everything she could find with new eyes. The first thing that shocked her was how recently humans had developed space travel. Most species took thousands of years to move from their homeworlds to the stars. Humans had done it in less than a century. They had gone from primitive flying machines to interstellar ships faster than any species in recorded history. But it was not their speed that disturbed Lyra. It was the reason for their speed. Humans had not explored space because they were curious or peaceful. They had fled to space because they had made their own planet nearly impossible to live on. They had fought wars that destroyed entire continents. They had created weapons that could kill millions of people at once. They had poisoned their air and water and still continued fighting. And somehow, this had made them stronger. Lyra read about human wars with growing horror. Other species fought over territory or resources. Humans fought over ideas. They would kill each other for believing different things about gods or governments or skin colors. They turned warfare into an art form. But the most disturbing thing was how good they had become at it. Every other species in the galaxy had learned to be afraid of something. The crystal beings feared fire. The water people feared dry climates. Even the mighty Centauri Empire avoided certain sectors of space because of dangerous predators. Humans feared nothing because they had become the most dangerous predators of all. She read about their first contact with other species. Every meeting followed the same pattern. The aliens would try to intimidate or test the humans. The humans would respond with overwhelming force. Within a few years, the aliens would be signing peace treaties and trade agreements. The pattern was so consistent that Lyra began to suspect it was not accidental. Humans did not stumble into becoming the dominant species in the galaxy. They had planned it. On the 5th day after the incident, Maya found Lyra in the library. "You've been avoiding me," Maya said, sitting down across from her. Lyra looked up from her reading tablet. Maya's face showed mild curiosity, nothing more. She might have been asking about the weather. "I've been doing research," Lyra replied. "About what?" "About humans." Maya's expression did not change, but Lyra thought she saw something flicker in those dark eyes. Interest, maybe, or amusement. "Learn anything interesting?" Maya asked. Lyra looked around the library to make sure they were alone. Then she leaned forward and spoke quietly. "You knew exactly what you were doing in that lab, didn't you? The containment failure, the creature's behavior, everything. You were not surprised by any of it." Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then, she smiled that cold smile Lyra had seen before. "The Vorthak was never going to be contained properly," Maya said. "The university's security systems were designed for normal animals, not Shadow Realm predators. I knew it would escape eventually, so you prepared for it. I prepared for many possibilities. That's what intelligent predators do. We plan ahead. The way Maya said, "we" made Lyralei's skin crawl. She was not talking about humans in general. She was talking about something much more specific. "What are you?" Lyralei whispered. Maya leaned back in her chair and studied Lyralei with those dark, calculating eyes. She seemed to be deciding how much truth to share. "I'm exactly what every species in this galaxy fears I am," Maya said finally. "I'm a human who understands what humans really are. And what is that? The most successful predators in the history of the galaxy. We don't just hunt for food or territory like other species. We hunt for sport. We hunt for ideas. We hunt because we enjoy the challenge." Maya spoke in the same calm voice she used in class, but her words made Lyralei feel sick. "The other species think they know what humans are," Maya continued. "They think we're violent or unpredictable or lucky, but they don't understand the real truth. We're not violent by accident. We're violent by design. Every war, every conflict, every competition makes us stronger and smarter and more dangerous." "That's monstrous," Lyralei said. "That's evolution," Maya replied. "Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, climate changes. Most species would have died out. We learned to be more dangerous than everything else." Maya pulled out her tablet and showed Lyralei some files. They were research papers about predator behavior and hunting strategies. But these were not the papers assigned for class. These were advanced studies that only specialists would read. "I've been studying predatory behavior since I was 12, Maya said. "Not just animal predators, all predators. I know how they think, how they hunt, how they can be defeated. The Vorthak was actually quite simple compared to some species I've studied." "You're talking about hunting intelligent beings," Lyralei said, horrified. "I'm talking about understanding how conflict works," Maya corrected, "how power is gained and lost, how one species becomes dominant over another. These are important skills in a galaxy full of competing civilizations." Lyralei stared at the research files. There were hundreds of them, covering dozens of species. Maya had been studying every intelligent race in the galaxy like they were potential prey. "This is why other species are afraid of humans," Lyralei said. "You're not just warriors or explorers, you're apex predators," Maya finished. "Yes. And the best part is that most humans don't even realize it. They think they're being friendly and peaceful when they explore new worlds. They don't understand that every smile, every trade agreement, every cultural exchange is just another form of hunting." Maya closed her tablet and stood up to leave. But she paused and looked down at Lyralei one more time. "You should write your report for the Sylvandor Academy soon," Maya said. "I'm sure they're curious about what you've learned here." Lyralei felt a chill run through her. Maya knew about her assignment to report back to the elf government. She probably knew about every secret communication Lyralei had sent home. "What should I tell them?" Lyralei asked. Maya smiled that cold smile again. "Tell them the truth. Tell them that humans are exactly what they feared we were, but also tell them that it's too late to do anything about it." "What do you mean?" "Humans are already everywhere, Lyralei. We're in your governments, your universities, your trade networks. We've been studying every species in the galaxy for decades. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your desires." Maya started walking away, but her voice carried back clearly. The hunt never really ended. It just got bigger. That night, Lyralei sat in her dorm room trying to write her report. How could she explain what she had learned? How could she tell her people that the young, primitive species they had dismissed was actually the most dangerous thing in the galaxy? She wrote about Maya's calm behavior during the crisis. She wrote about the humans' ability to communicate with the Vorthak. She wrote about the research files and the cold calculation in Maya's eyes. But as she wrote, Lyralei realized something that made her feel sick. Maya had wanted her to see all of this. The human had deliberately revealed her true nature. This was not an accident or a moment of weakness. This was a message. Maya was telling the elf government exactly what humans were capable of. She was showing them that humans had already infiltrated every level of galactic society. She was proving that resistance was futile. Lirelei finished her report and sent it to Sylvandor. Then she sat in the dark, thinking about Maya's final words. The hunt never really ended. It just got bigger. Outside her window, she could see human ships coming and going from the spaceport. Each one carried humans to new worlds, new civilizations, new opportunities. And now Lirelei understood what those opportunities really were. Humans were not exploring the galaxy. They were claiming it. One world, one species, one mind at a time. And there was nothing anyone could do to stop them, because by the time you realized what humans really were, it was already too late. They were already inside your society, your government, your thoughts. They were already hunting you, and they had been hunting you all along,